This is the new Pioneer DJ DJM-A9 Pro mixer, the new industry standard mixer to replace the 900 Nexus 2, which we have permanently set up in the studio here at Digital DJ Tips, as regulars will know. This is a mixer aimed firmly at pro DJs and aimed firmly at DJs who play mainstream sets, who play traditional mixing styles. And so it's different from the V10 mixer, for instance, which is Pioneer's other very, very high-end mixer, which is more for innovative styles of DJing, where you're doing something different to the way DJing's kind of been done down the ages. And in that way, this is linked to the mixers that have come previously to it, not only the 900 Nexus 2, but even the first one I bought, the 600, many, many years ago. It's the latest in a long line of club standard mixers. In this review, I'm going to look at the new features with you. I'm going to pull out 10 that we think are really important. We're going to concentrate on ways you can customize it as well, things which are new. We're also going to bring your attention to a couple of things that you can't see by looking at the mixer, one of which is the sound quality, but the other one is a real curveball that we weren't expecting, an app which this works with in conjunction with CDJ 3000s in order to give front of house audio engineers, sound engineers and club owners an unprecedented and maybe a little bit creepy level of control over what is going on the unit itself. So we've got a lot to get through. I'm going to start off by giving you a tour of the unit, a very fast tour of the unit. Then I'm going to focus on the 10 things that we think you need to know about this. Then we'll talk about that app. Then I'll give you some important information if you're thinking of upgrading to it before moving to our conclusion. So let's start by having a quick tour. It looks pretty similar on first glance to the original, or the mixer it's replacing, the 900 Nexus 2. A little bit wider, a few inches wider, but apart from that, it's all as we would expect. We've got the 4 channels down the middle with the channel selector, the trim, 3-band EQ, the color effects, the Q buttons, and our channel faders, plus the crossfader and the channel assigns for the crossfader here. Over on the left-hand side of the mixer, the 2 USBs at the top. We're going to look in a bit more detail at a lot of this stuff later. This is your first quick tour of it. The 2 USBs at the top, 2 microphone inputs with mic EQ, mic effects and parameters down here, mic on, off and talk through. We've also got the new Bluetooth section here. I'll be moving on to talk about that one in a little while. Then the sound color effects selectors here, slightly redesigned, but essentially the same effects. Headphones down here, but there's another one over here. We'll be talking about that as well. The usual ability to switch your crossfader curve, channel fader curves, and your EQ between isolator and standard EQ. Master and meter down here. With our booth EQ, this is something that's new, come across from the V10 and our booth level. And then as usual, we've got the multi input and output here for our send and return, where we can do that digitally as well as analog. A brand new display up here, but in the same place where you'd expect to find it for the effects. The X pad for controlling effects here, the beat and tap and so on for effects, frequency, effects chooser, a new way of selecting the effects channel, and the standard time, level, depth and on off here for the effects. Headphones are here, but there's another headphones around the front of the mixer as well for a second set of headphones. Again, talking about that soon. So before we move into our deeper look at some of these functions, let's take a look at the back of the unit. So moving at the back of the unit, let's start here. Wi-Fi. I'll move on to why we've got Wi-Fi here in a short while. We then have our microphone input. This is microphone 1. Microphone 2 is over here. Link down at the bottom here for Ethernet. Very important to get this networked up with your CDJs and so on, and for other reasons again, which we'll be looking into. Here's our digital ins and outs down here. So a little bit tidied up from the mixer that came before it. Standard channel ins for all 4 channels, phono and line there, switchable at the top. Again, this is all pretty standard from the previous mixer. We've got TRS booth output, we've got master output, XLR, the master output we've got plugged in here is the RCA. There's also a record output, and here are your analog send and returns, and you've got your ground poles here for putting your earth wire if you're using a Technics turntable, and the on-off and a lockable, if I had a lockable lead in there, which I don't, a lockable cable, which is straight off the CDJ 3000s as well. So that's the unit around the back. What I want to do now though, because of course we're all familiar with the DJM-900 Nexus 2, which again we've had set up here and we've been teaching on here for several years. It's a permanent part of our teaching studio at Digital DJ Tips. We're all familiar with this unit. So I want to hone in on what's different here on the new DJM-A9. That's what we're going to do then for the next few minutes. So the first thing I want to look at is the color effects. So these color effects have got a new button called the center lock. Now, they told us about this and we thought it sounded quite cool. What it does is, if you've got, say, a filter selected and you want to turn it to the left for low pass filter and the right for high pass filter, there's that click in the middle, right? There's always been that click in the middle where it's as if you've got the filter turned off. There's nothing happening there. It's just straight through. So what often happens is DJs want to filter away like this and they miss the top and go into the high pass filter by mistake. To give one example, right? It's just part of the DJing life that sometimes you get a bit abrupt with the controls and you overshoot. So what Pioneer DJ decided to do was put a lock on, and the center lock will lock the center so you can't overshoot. Now, there's me thinking, oh, that's clever. What they've done is they've wired this up internally so that even though your control goes past the center, electronically, it will stop the effect going too far, right? It'll hit the middle and it'll just cut the effect. But no, it doesn't work like that at all. It's actually mechanical. If I turn center lock on, its light comes on. Now I can't physically move now past there. Now, one of the weird things about this is that, at least on this model, you can, but you've got to push quite hard or wiggle to make it happen. If I get to the middle, look, you see, it's not going past, which is doing the job. You can hear it's quite noisy. That wouldn't matter in a club, of course. If I wiggle it there, I can get it past. So I'm not sure whether that's deliberate or not. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you want to deliberately give it a little wiggle to get past, but it does stop you accidentally going through there. I thought this was a bit weird at first. I actually quite like it now, and I'm not worried about the mechanical side of it. You know, if you think about Pioneer DJ CDJs, they've got all kinds of mechanical stuff going on, the jog adjust and the bearings inside and stuff. Pioneer DJ know about making this kind of stuff work, so I'm not worried about the mechanical side of it. I just thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that I could get it past the middle if I tried. And just weird that they'd gone for mechanical in the first place, when surely you could wire the electronics to stop the effect halfway, depending upon where you've got it set. If you're that side, stop it in there, and if you're that side, stop it there. But anyway, the center lock is a brand new feature, and one that DJs who like to abuse the gear, I imagine, are going to quite enjoy. The next thing that's brand new is they've brought 3 effects across to here to add to the already wide range of effects. So they've brought the Mobius effect across straight from the DDJ-1000, which is absolutely brilliant. Anyone who's used the DDJ-1000 or the DDJ-1000 SRT will know that Mobius is a great effect, and that's now over here, which is cool. They've also brought 2 effects across. I believe they're from the V10, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, they're triplet effects, which is really nice. There's a triplet filter and a triplet roll. One of the things we teach in our mixing courses is how using triplets in 4/4 music, which is sets of 3 notes, which are something which will then land away from the main beats of the song, is a really nice way of adding something to a set when you're using echo, or in this case filter as well. Great to see the triplet effects in here. So that's another tick as well, and something that you don't get over on the 900 Nexus 2. So our third point is that the effects changing is a lot easier here. So you'll remember on the old mixer that you had a rotary. Well, now you've got channels 1, 2, 3, 4, mic, channel, fader A, B, and master here. And the lights come on as well on the unit, like they did on the old one. But the way of doing it here is a lot easier. Just have a button to touch, and you're not turning a knob like this to try and find the place that you want to assign the effect to. Speaking about this area then, they've got a much, much better display. I mean, it's chalk and cheese. This is the display here. And once you see the display, once you remember what the display looks like on the old one, it really is like, I don't want to go back to that old one anymore. No way. Thank you very much. The display is color. It's high resolution. The X-Pad is now really, really nice. My finger's just at the bottom of your screen there on the X-Pad. Look how that moves through there. Just everything about this screen is a huge improvement. And depending on what effect you've got set, you get different sets of information on the screen there. So really good improvement on this screen, which I think DJs are going to love. You can change the brightness of the screen as well in the settings. We're going to get to look at those settings in a minute. So better display screen here. Now, one thing that DJs always have to do in the real world is switch, right? Now, these mixers have for a long time had 2 USBs on the top, and this one is no exception. We've got 2 USBs here for plugging into laptops if you want to DJ with laptop. But when it comes to just physically switching between DJs, you know, you are playing from USBs on your CDJs or whatever, physically switching, unplugging headphones and handing over to someone else, it's a stress point, right? So what is now part of this, again, straight from the V10, is 2 headphones inputs, headphones A and headphones B. And you might have spotted that we've actually got 2 sets of cue buttons here, and that's why. Your main cue is for headphones A, but there's a secondary cue for headphones B. Headphones B round the front of the mixer, and headphones A is where they always are on the top here. And this means that when you're switching DJs, you can have 2 DJs with their headphones plugged in at the same time, queuing and listening to different channels. It also means, of course, if you're a DJ duo or you're playing back to back with someone, it makes it an awful lot more fun. So this, again, straight from the V10, is a feature that's gone mainstream. DJs are going to enjoy this a lot, I think. So as well as the A-B headphones, we've got Booth EQ. Again, this is another V10 feature. So high and low EQ for the DJ booth here as well. Sometimes there's very little control on the DJ booth that you've got anyway. So if it's a bit harsh or it's a bit annoying, not only have you got a level, but you've also got high and low for the DJ booth as well. Now, these mixers do get used by mobile DJs as well as by club DJs. And I think Pioneer DJ has realized that having more stuff on the microphone channel might be a good idea. These microphone channels now are hugely flexible with some excellent new features. Let's have a look at them. So to start with, mic 1 has got phantom power now. So if you do want to use a mic that needs phantom power, you can turn it on. It's a good new addition. The usual mic levels and the usual 2-band mic EQ. But what's new is that we've now got, as well as reverb on the mic, why do so many mixer manufacturers think that if they're going to put anything on the mic, they'll only put echo? I don't get it. Pioneer DJ have always had a reverb on there, which, well, for a long time, which I think is cool. It's good to have the reverb. So you do have the reverb and you do have a parameter to dial the reverb in and out, but they have put effects on here as well. So you get an echo, which is cool, as well as a reverb. It's good to have that. There's a pitch effect, which will literally pitch your voice really high like this and really Barry White like this, which sounds good as well. And you also have a megaphone effect that gives a sound like you're talking through a megaphone. 3 new effects here then. They've also made it a little bit easier by making the talk over button in a different place to the mic on off button here as well. So overall, some meaningful improvements to the microphones area here. More fun to use, but also more flexible with the phantom power on the main microphone. Now, the crossfader has been improved. So this is now the version 3 Magvel crossfader, which for scratch DJs is just going to be something that removes the bugbear. You can see how loose and buttery this is, but also the faders here are straight out of the V10 as well. Again, what we're seeing here is trickle down from a mixer which was very well received when it was released, and this stuff's now becoming part of the mainstream mixer as well, mainstream mixer line of Pioneer DJ. So we've also got this Bluetooth pairing. Bluetooth pairing is something that just makes sense, because with Bluetooth pairing you can quickly get something playing through here on your phone. God forbid if people want to give you their phones and play requests and you want to go down that line, you can now do it. But I'm thinking more for having music playing through the mixer that isn't being played from something wired up to the mixer. Either if you just want to play music in the background straight from a phone or whatever, but for me it's Bluetooth pairing is one of those things that is great to have as a plan B, because you can have a mix waiting on your phone and very quickly bang it into the mixer, and when you do that you can select it and play it through what you want on here and out to the speakers in case anything goes wrong with the gear that you're playing on, or indeed if you just want to get some music playing between DJs or between main events or whatever. A good thing to have. And I think another good thing to have, certainly as we move forward, future-proofing this unit, it's one of the themes of this, that they're definitely future-proofing it by a lot of these features, is having USB-C as well as USB-B for your inputs here. Pioneer DJ is starting to include USB-C on various pieces of gear, from the very low-end DJ controllers up to the DJM-S5 mixer, which is actually powered by USB-C. It's the future, right? And it's here. So this is the first mixer I know of, the first Pro Club mixer I know of that's got USB-C built into it. So there's our 10 kind of big differences between this and the DJM-A9 Nexus 2, which we know extremely well. They're the 10 things that have stood out for me. But one of the real curveballs here is that there's an iPad app now for the thing as well. Now, why would you have an iPad app for a mixer? Well, it's called Stagehand. And the idea is that you connect this mixer up to a network, which is why we've got this Wi-Fi here. This is one way of doing it. You don't have to use the ProLink here. You can just connect it to a router, the same router that you've got this connected to. And you run the Stagehand iOS app on your iPad, and you get some features which are really useful for people like video DJs, audio engineers, anyone sound checking, and also the venue owner. So why? Well, the app gives you complete visibility into the tracks that are playing, the BPM, the track list, the artwork, even the waveforms. It also shows you how the mixer is set, how the effects are set. And so if you're a lighting person wanting to see what the DJ is playing and when the big drops and so on are happening, or to check the names of the tracks because you know that you're meant to be doing stuff with certain tracks, then it can do that. You can even turn connected CDJ 3000s, only CDJ 3000s at this point work with this. You can even turn connected CDJ 3000s on and off with the app. So it is mind-blowing. The fact that they've chosen to do it, for me, is a mind-blowing thing. And you can see how it could be useful. You could see how in a big venue where you can send settings directly to the mixer from the app as well, because we're going to look at the way you can load and save settings on the mixer in a minute. It's another big new addition. I kind of get it, but wow, an app where people can see what tracks you're playing and turn the CDJs on and off remotely. I'd be a bit scared if I was a big name DJ. I'd say, can you turn that off please while I'm playing? And you can't do that from the unit. So anyway, it exists, it's there. It's called Stagehand, and it's beyond the realms of this review. However, to let you know, it's being launched at exactly the same time. For front of house people, as I say, audio engineers, club owners, people whose job it is to install and maintain setups like this across multiple rooms in a club or whatever, they will find it definitely more useful. Now, before we move on to my thoughts about this, I want to give you some stuff that it's important to know, especially if you're thinking of upgrading this. You already have a DJM-A9 Nexus 2, or you're a club owner looking to switch these out. Just a few things that I think it's important that you know about this. Let's cover these off now. So firstly, it's going to cost you 500 more. They've added 500 to the price, more or less, whatever currency you're buying in. Just be aware, you're not getting all these new features for free. It's bigger. It's good 3 or 4 inches wider. If you've got a hole cut out in your DJ booth to fit the old one, the new one won't fit. We're going to need a slightly bigger desk here as well, I think, because this is really squashed on here, our current setup. It has got no balance control. You notice the balance controller's gone from down here. However, all is not lost, as we're about to find out. It's still got no USB or Ethernet hub around the back. I would have thought, all right, maybe no USBs for plugging in, you know, control decks and stuff. That's fair enough. But I would have thought we're about the time now where 4 Ethernet sockets, 4 Pro DJ Link sockets would have been good around the back here to save needing to have a router to plug all this stuff in. But anyway, that's not there. And a good piece of news, it works out of the box with Serato. It's already ready, so you can use this with, if you're a Serato user and you're plugging your laptop in, there's no waiting, it all works. So there's no worry about that. And of course with Rekordbox as well. So there's just a few things I think you need to know about this. Now, I want to look now at some of the features which you can't see by looking at the mixer that I think are important. And there's really 2 of them. The first one we'll cover off just by chatting about it, is sound quality. Now, one of the things that has been leveled at the DJM-A9 Nexus 2 over the years is, yes, it's a fun mixer, it's got all these fun features on, but it just doesn't sound as good as some of its competitors. Now, I think Pioneer DJ certainly was stung by that opinion of their mixer. I think if you look at the V10, the DJM V10, which we've also reviewed, a fully digital mixer that sounds absolutely incredible. And if you're a fan of the V10, or you're a fan of other brands' mixers, fully analog mixers, for instance, that sound really nice, then you may be also of the opinion that the old mixer doesn't have that same sound quality. Well, the new one does. This has got 32-bit audio architecture. They've lifted straight from the V10, the same audio chipset apparently, beyond me to understand the technicalities of it, but ultimately it sounds appreciably better than the previous mixer and is up there with the very best analog or digital mixers nowadays. They've ironed out some of those rough edges and you will hear that. So that is not only the master output, but the booth output. Even the phono stages apparently have been tweaked and played with as well to improve the sound quality there. So headphones as well, even the headphones sound better. So you not only get the EQ, but you also get overall improved sound quality for those. So that's the first thing that you can't really see by looking at the mixer. It sounds better. The second thing though is some of the customization that's now possible because of this new screen, and this is something that you need to dig a little bit deeper to find. So very quickly, let's take a little look at that. So in order to get into the utility screen, I'm pressing this little button here. And then to navigate around here, there's various ways you can do it using the time knob and the buttons around here. So I'll use the buttons up here. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom in on the screen so you can see really closely what's going on. But that's what I'm doing slightly underneath here to show you some of these features. So you've got a whole load of settings in here. You've got mixer settings. So in here, we've got balance. That's where the balance has gone, by the way. So it doesn't matter that the balance is missing. We can attenuate and fix the master out there. There's a limiter in there as well. We can switch it to mono or stereo from here. We've got the same for the digital master out, same kind of stuff that we can control there. You can mess around with the booth output here. Again, you can switch it to mono or stereo. You can have it muting when a microphone is turned on if you want, so that you're not getting feedback through the microphone. So all the kind of things that you would expect and you'll see as useful additions here. Loads of mic stuff, including turning the mic off to the booth if you want. It's another way of stopping feedback in the booth. So all these different ways of playing with the mic. Then we've got auto standby lock, so that the person who maintains the mixer can lock it and stop DJs messing with it as well. And there's some owner settings in there as well for loading and saving your own settings, which is one of the things that the app will help you to do without having to actually come to the mixer. But also you've got settings in here for the DJ. You can load and save your own settings for the mixer. Why would you want to do that? Well, wait till you see what I've got a little bit further on to show you as well, because beat effects, store beat effects. Yes, you can mess around with everything that's going on the effects here. And as you're about to see, it turns out there's quite a lot. So you can have all your effects set to exactly how you want to use them using the new menus that I'm showing you here. So a little few things that you can mess around with on the headphones: stereo, mono split. There's a mono split physical button for the headphones as well. And then a few other pieces of tweakage down here, mainly around the microphone and so on. But what I wanted to bring you to was past the MIDI, although MIDI is a great thing, and it's good that we've got the MIDI on here with its own button. That's something I forgot to mention when we were touring the mixer. It gets its own button now. You can control the on-off from here, but also from here. But this is what I wanted to show you. Every single effect has got its own settings in here. Every single effect. So you can drill into an effect and you can decide what beat you want it to kick in on. You can decide whether the effects frequency is low, mid, high, or any combination thereof. And you can save all that stuff out and load it when you get to your gig, so that you've got the effects set exactly how you want them set. I think that's really, really cool. Right, it's a lot to take in, right? We've had a little time to think about it, and I just want to close off now by giving you our conclusion. This is a necessary evolution of the DJM-A9 Nexus 2. It had to happen. It's been a long, long time. The old one, when you go back to this one now, it does feel really, really limited compared to what's on the new one. That's for certain. You won't be playing with the new one for very long before you start to never want to see a DJM-A9 Nexus 2 again. I love the way that they've taken some of the best features from the V10 and trickled them down into the new mixer, but I also like the way that they've taken, say, the Mobius effect is the one that stood out for me, stuff from lower down in the chain as well, and bringing it up from the DDJ-1000. It's cool that, because that is such a good effect. So I don't know if there's any other things that we'll discover. We've only had this here on the desk for a very short time, but I don't know if there's any other things we'll discover that have come from other places, but it's good to see that. I guess Bluetooth pairing is something you wouldn't expect to find on a high-end mixer, but actually it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely been future-proofed. I think we can see that by some of the new features, but also the USB-C and so on going on up here. They've thought about the future. I love the fact that the audio quality is now up there with some of the very best mixers, both analog and digital. And the Improvements to the layout are really quite meaningful. They've thought about, you know, any change to a mixer where people are really used to the old one is something that they would have had to think about. There's more space around here now. The X-Pad is so much better the way it works, as I demonstrated to you. Having buttons down here for the selecting where you're going to assign the effects to. All of these things are just better, and they're better in a subtle way. It's evolution, as I said, not revolution. I just think a couple of things that they've missed. The Ethernet hub I'd love to have seen for Pro DJ Link sockets here on the back, so you can plug all kinds of stuff in without needing a router. And I do think some DJs are going to not like the idea of someone with an iPad somewhere in that club looking at everything they're playing and even turning off the decks. I've got thrown off the decks many times in my life as a DJ, but I would like to. I'd like to have that physical getting thrown off, not have someone turning my CDJs off because I've overplayed or whatever. But anyway, maybe too much information there. So overall, then, it's easier to use than the previous mixer, which is great considering that they've added a load of features to it as well. Bluetooth is a great thing. It's just going to make life easier for DJs, as are the headphones A and the headphones B sockets. But the most important thing of all, it sounds better than the old one. No, it's not cheap. You never expect these mixers to be cheap. It's $2,799 and £2,469 is the current up-to-date pricing we've got for it. It's the DJM-A9, the new club standard mixer from Pioneer DJ. If you've enjoyed this, remember we are the leading DJ school in the world and we'd love to have you as one of our students. It's free to join Digital DJ Tips and you get a copy of our best-selling Amazon book, Rock the Dance Floor, when you do, where we talk you through the 5 big areas of DJing and how to improve in all of them. To get your copy of the book, simply click the link underneath this video to join Digital DJ Tips. It's completely free. I'd love to have you as our newest member. But meanwhile, for me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio with the Pioneer DJ DJM-A9, all that's left for me to say is get good, get out there, make the moments, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.